Hello, and welcome once again to the Far From Normal Radio Show. I am your host, Jay Moss, and normally we have Mr. Veno in here with us, but Bud is out this evening doing some very important stuff, and we'll mention that later on, maybe in the broadcast. If not, we'll definitely mention it next week. There's lots and lots going on, and we are pleased more than ever to have our brother, Mr. Randy Davis, here with us. Randy, how are you doing?
I have never been better, baby. Let me tell y'all, you can't snuff the rooster. And I'm just here to tell you, you have no idea how good it feels to be able to be on this show tonight. And I am so full of gratitude. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I am just grateful to be here with you folks tonight. And it's going to be an exciting time, a really good time.
We're going to have a lot of different updates on things that Randy has experienced. Those who don't know, it's called a quintuple bypass. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a 5 coronary bypass, coronary artery bypass of 5 of them. Open heart surgery. You know, got a zipper up my chest now and 3 holes where tubes were coming out and holes all over me. I mean, they are literally all over me, but it doesn't matter. I'm here. And that is the thing I have learned, is to be grateful, folks. And I'm telling you, I'm grateful.
Absolutely. And we're going to have more and more updates on that. Some of the things that were given to Randy in the hospital by happenstance that obviously seems to be prophetic. And we'll talk about that a little bit, which is going to be amazing. And I think it's going to happen, folks. It's going to happen. What he says is going to happen. So we're going to dive into some things tonight, because we're going to talk about different things. 2 main aspects tonight. Number 1, veterans in the family court, because that is a huge issue. I know we've got a lot of veterans out there going through the family court issues. And second, which is kind of near and dear to my heart, is mental illness. There are a lot of issues with mental illness within the movement, either with people who have lost their children, or maybe the ex who is gotten the kids, or maybe there's a whole lot of other issues. Maybe the children have a mental illness, which one of the cases that Randy and I have been discussing that we may do a show on in the future is basically on that instance. And we'll kind of get into some of those things here very, very quickly. But I wanted to kind of dive into this in a really, really strange way, Randy. I'm going to try and see if I can't get this thing to play a video, which is off of YouTube, which is slightly odd. But the way it's done is the Howell versus Howell case. That was in the Supreme Court in 2018, I believe, in which they ruled that a veteran's disability compensation shouldn't be taken, but it also ruled that a veteran can waive a portion of their military retirement in order to receive VA disability compensation and not have to be penalized for that. So that's what this case really was about. It was about the fact of an Arizona case where a man waived his retirement, a portion of his retirement, in order to receive VA disability. When that happened, the ex was saying, hey, look, that lowers the portion of amount that I'm getting in child support. Yeah, but this guy was being raked over the coals already for child support. So I'm going to play this, but the issue that I say is a little bit weird and a little bit odd is this is being done and use dogs. Okay, so they're doing this using dogs, which is quite odd, but it is funny. And we'll only play just a small snippet of this, but I think it's very important for you to hear this particular part of it.
Available under federal
law. The court
law.
wants to make sure that the spouse, whether wife or husband, receives half of the military retirement pay, and going forward. So she does, he or she does exactly what I set forth. She says, okay, you're entitled to half, but if there's disability pay, you're entitled to an additional amount exactly equal to half of the disability pay?
Well, yes, I think the statute expressly contemplates fixed sum awards, and so that
you have a law that says you can't divide disability pay, and yet you say it's okay to say, well, I'm not going to divide it, but I'm just going to award you an amount equal to what it would be if I divided it.
Well, let me be clear.
That's the sort of thing that gives, law a bad name. It makes a charade out of the statute.
Well, Your Honor, I respectfully submit that state courts have a lot of experience in treating differently separate property, marital property, separate income, property interest. That is the kind of bread and butter that state courts, those kind of distinctions are the bread and butter that state courts apply their own state law to. And so this act.
What does that have to do with my question?
So the question is, Your Honor, in terms of.
And I want to stop it there, because that part right there tells you that the Supreme Court is saying what I've been saying for a very, very long time. What we have is veterans who have that they become non-custodial parents. Okay, and so when you're a non-custodial parent and you have children, more than likely you're going to pay child support. So what the states are doing is bypassing federal law. They are bypassing 38 U.S.C. 5301. They're bypassing 38 U.S.C. 511. They're bypassing 42 U.S.C. 659 H1B III. And they're saying, we don't care what the federal law says. We don't care that the Secretary of the Department of Veteran Affairs should make all decisions in these matters. We don't care about that, because we're not garnishing a veteran's pay. What we're going to do is, once they receive that pay and it hits their bank account, now we're going to issue a child support order based on what they're receiving. And what this Supreme Court judge said was, this is the sort, I'm going to quote this again, it's the sort of thing that gives law a bad name. It makes a charade out of the statutes. That's the exact quote that the Supreme Court is saying. So, but what you're seeing, though, is the state courts are continuing to do this. And the only way that I have found in which to circumvent this, and I'm telling you this at this particular time because it is not an easy road, what I'm telling you is you have to find the state statute for your state and challenge the constitutionality of the statute. That's what you must do, and it's not easy. It's going to be a long road, but we have to do that. And it looks like I've got some other people listening in too, but I'm not going to bring them in quite yet. But I think that it's very, very important that I show some of these issues real quick. And I know that Randy's probably not chiming in much because he's a veteran, but I know that he can tell you he's dealt with veterans quite a bit. And this same issue has resulted in three quarters of the amount of suicides per day, which they say is 22 a day per veterans right now. Okay, 3/4 of those go through the family court system. That means 17 veterans a day commit suicide because they go through the family court system, and they cannot take the issues with PTSD, the anxiety, the issues of suppression, the issues in which a family court judge is bypassing these federal laws and putting these veterans down. Some of these veterans have even been called, and I've witnessed this for a fact, have been called baby killers, have been called reckless, just because of the fact that they experience PTSD. And I think that it's an atrocity that we have to fix in the family court system, and it has to happen by challenging the constitutionality of the statute. It has to be done very businesslike. I don't believe that you can do this by resting on your emotions and saying, oh, I'm not this, oh, I'm not that. That's not going to get you anywhere. What you have to prove is facts. Okay. So let's dive into this just a hair. Okay. And I think it's very important that we do. Let's dive into this one first here. And hopefully I'm not getting an echo, but I may be. Okay, so This one is 38 USC 511. It says the Secretary shall decide all questions of law and fact necessary to the decision by the Secretary under the law that affects provisions of benefits by the Secretary to the veteran or to dependents or survivors of veterans. Subject to subsection B, the decision of the Secretary as to any questions such as any such questions shall be final and conclusive and may not be reviewed by any other official or by any court, whether by action of nature or by mandamus or otherwise. Okay, so what they're basically saying is the Secretary of the Department of Veteran Affairs makes all decisions in the matters of veterans benefits. Okay, that means all decisions, not some of the decisions, all of the decisions. Meaning if your ex applies for an apportionment, that means the Secretary of the Department of Veteran Affairs decides whether they get an apportionment or not. Now, the apportionment process is very clear. It's just exactly like Social Security. Okay. And in fact, retirement pay is the same way as Social Security as well, where the VA or the Social Security would take the portion that's allotted for child support and would send a check out each and every single month. Either they would send it to your ex or they would send it to the children. Okay. The apportionment process for VA disability works the same exact way. Okay. So you're filing for this apportionment. You're saying, hey, I was so-and-so's ex, and the Secretary would make the decision, hey, this person was the ex, here's the children, here's what we're awarding for the ex and the children, which is usually $100 for the ex. And it would be, I think it's depending on your disability, it could be anywhere from $34 for 10%, all the way up to like 89 or 100 and some odd dollars, depending per child, each and every single month. So they would send that as an apportionment check. Okay. But most of the time, what the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs has done is they've looked at the veteran's income and they've said, hey, look, if we award this check and we award this check over to the ex or the children, now, does this put the veteran below the poverty line? And if so, if this puts the veteran below the poverty line and they can't earn income any other way, we have to deny the apportionment. So that's what you see in a lot of cases where you see a veteran who's gone back into court. They've done the apportionment process. They've walked back into court. They said, hey, look, they did the apportionment process. And the VA is coming back saying, hey, look, they're not going to award it. They're going to deny the apportionment. What usually happens then is the family court judge has to set the child support at 0. They don't have any other choice at that point because the federal law has already ruled on the decision. What happens so many times, though, is you may get a veteran who makes 60% or 80% or 90% VA disability. If you're not 100% disabled, we're seeing a lot of these veterans who are just under those, they're getting screwed royally because they're walking into these family courts and they have no protection because they can't do the apportionment process because they're not 100% disabled. They can't prove that they can't work, which is, I think that right there is prima facie evidence. Pretty much when you have to prove your innocence rather than proving that you're guilty. That's called prima facie. Okay, and that happens a lot of times when you're talking about when you're guilty of, or when they say that you're guilty of contempt of court. Okay, contempt of court is one of those issues that's prima facie. So you have to prove that you're innocent rather than them proving that you're guilty. Say, for instance, if you're not working, okay, why are you not working? Okay, you have to prove over and over with medical records, with evidence, with all these different things that shows that you cannot work. You don't have the ability to work. Otherwise, they would hold you in contempt of court. You probably would face fine, sanction, possibly even jail time because you were in contempt of court. Okay. So these are things that we're bringing up, and we have seen, especially in a case called Rose versus Rose that was in 1982. The ruling happened in 1982. It was a Supreme Court case, but what basically happened is 42 USC 659, which is in place right now, replaced a previous law. The previous law was 42 USC 657. That is no longer in place because they saw that it screwed this veteran. Basically, this veteran was confined to a wheelchair, had issues of PTSD and several other issues. They jailed this veteran, jailed him over child support. And he didn't have the means to pay for his own apartment, his own care. He was spending money out of pocket. He was getting care for by family members. He was pretty much at the point of, and he did file for 100% VA disability. And this guy was confined to a wheelchair. After the case and after his jail time, he was released. I believe he was jailed again. And I believe later, maybe 3 to 4 years later, I believe he passed away. So this is a major issue in which that very same, actually that very same April, Congress came together and they said, no, we're going to start protecting veterans. They abolished 42 USC 657. They implemented 42 USC 659. Specifically, I'm going to show you this one because this is very, very important. And I brought this up before a judge who had absolutely 100% no answer for me. And this one is very, very important right here. Let's each. D, there we go. Okay, let's show you this one. Okay, so we're looking at 42 USC 659 H1 B, and you'll see this III right here. And what that says, if you read it all together, money subject to process, and this is the child support. Okay, so this is public health and welfare. Okay, so this is the child support, and they're saying, in general, subject to paragraph 2, monies payable to individuals considered to be based on remuneration for employment. Okay, so basically anything that's remuneration for employment basically can be used for child support. Okay, but they're saying these are the ones that don't. Okay, so you come down here to section B and it says, do not include any payments of periodic benefits under Title 38 except for as provided in subparagraph AIIV. Now the AIIV, if you want to go look that up, what that's saying is if you waived retirement fee in order to receive child support, okay, which has already been overruled by Howell anyway. Okay, so if you look at that in its context there, it's saying, look, child support is even saying we shouldn't be taking this money, but each and every single month, people like myself who are at the 90% rate, waiting for the 100% TDIU rating, we're paying an exorbitant amount of child support for children that we also have visitation with, and we pay for what they need when they're with us as well. Okay, so not only are we taking care of our household and our household income and what we have to do off of what little we get, but we're also paying an exorbitant amount of child support to pay for what happens over there at the other house. So we're paying for 2 households on a very, very limited income. That is not right to veterans. And what ends up happening is these veterans feel the pressure each and every single day. Why is this important? Because people like myself, I've been waiting on a VA disability upgrade for the last 5.5 years. 5.5 years for a order to get to a judge that I have went to a doctor. I have had a residual capacity form filled out that says that I cannot work, should not be working. I have another doctor who my lawyers have hired, an outside source who's a specialist in my particular condition, who's both of these doctors have said, no, he shouldn't be working, not with the conditions he has. It is very, very limited capacity, if any. And then now what you have is a Indian doctor, and I don't want to put down any race or creed or nationality or anything like that, but you have an Indian doctor who shouldn't be employed by the VA because they're not national born. Okay, they're employed by the VA. More than likely, these Indian doctors are coming over who have the credentials of someone who shouldn't even be a veterinarian. And they're coming over and they're giving disability ratings on veterans. And that's so particularly harmful. And I know I've got a few people coming in here, and I'm going to get to you in just a second. And I know I'm going to bring in this man, though, and bring him here into the conversation. And we'll see him in here in a second. Hopefully it'll bring him in. But I think that there are a lot of veterans out there who have gone through a lot of these situations, and it's just absolutely insane that they've been waiting this long on VA disability compensation upgrades. I think it's insane to treat our veterans in any way, shape, or form like they've been treated. And I think that it's obvious that we need to do something as a country in order to get these veterans taken care of, especially within the family court system. I know I've got Bud. Are you in, brother?
Oh my goodness, my brother Jay. Can you hear me?
Yes, and Bud does have his camera off tonight, but we can hear him on audio. How's it going, brother?
Good. And unfortunately, I'm gonna eat this. It's going wonderfully, Jay. Thank you. June 4th, Day 2019. And I want to give a quick shout out. I'm going to catch the rest of the show as you so kindly mentioned. I would be back and important stuff going on. Great stuff. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Rev It Up Randy Davis. Wow, that was motivating when I saw him come back on. I had to come on and tell you boys I love you. Great show. Be back next week. I'm honored to be on with you out there. Chins up. Sorry, I'm interjecting and interrupting the show, Jay, but it's so good to see Randy back, brother. Hey, Randy.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. You have no idea how happy I am to hear you guys and be able to see you.
Well, it's glad to see you. It's good to see you upright, brother. It's good
Ain't
to
no
see
doubt.
you guys rock this show. I'm going to check out. But I love you boys, and I love everybody out there, and I'll be back. Thanks for the support. You guys keep rocking, and I'm going to keep watching it.
All right. Thanks, brother. Yeah, and I think just some amazing stuff. Obviously, Bud Veno jumped in here. I'm sure we may have some others jump in here in a little bit as well. And as we were talking about, obviously, veterans issues is a big thing. And I hear so many people say, why do we talk about veterans issues so much? And veterans, I will be honest with you, that is my forte because of the fact I am also a veteran. I'm experiencing this, but not only because of that fact, but I think veterans can open the door up for everyone else. I really believe that because if the federal laws are there to protect veterans, then there also probably is federal laws to protect people that we needed across as well. But you got to open up the pinhole first before you can drive a semi through that pinhole. It just doesn't work that way when we're talking about these things. When we're talking about specific issues of parental custody, parental rights, there's a lot of different issues that are in place there. You've got mental health issues, you've got backgrounds, you've got all kinds of different issues. You've got, okay, is this a family court case? Is this a CPS or DCF case? there's just so much behind this. It's not just one thing. And when people talk about issues behind the curtain or behind the scenes of the show, I think that they don't really necessarily understand that we are engulfed in what goes on behind the scenes as well. If we bring somebody on the show, we stick with them, we stay with them, we try and support them, they try and support us. It is not a one-trick pony type of show where we bring them on and they're off and we never hear from them again. It's not like that. We bring people in as a family unit, we make them part of us, and we hope that they stick around and do the right things. Sometimes we've had people we've had to let go of for particular reasons, and it's nothing personal. Really, it's not. It's that we have to do and conduct business in the most professional light that we possibly can, because we have so many eyes watching. There are so many people looking towards us as a show and as a network to do the right thing. And not everyone is out there that does a show, does it the way that we do it. And that's fine. But we are absolutely dedicated to the fact that we have to have principles and morals and standards in what we do. And Randy can tell you that firsthand. We've encountered that so many times.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you take that over, because I think the other thing we need to get into as well is what happened to you. And I think,
yeah, but I'm going to make it. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something too, folks. And this meant so much to me, but everybody, as a matter of fact, you always hear us talk about care and pet at Materna. But when I'm laying in the hospital, this will tell you kind of how close we all are. But this was a situation, and then I'll get into the veterans and my experience there. But on a Monday morning, the 6th of May, I get up, I go over to Mr. Huey's, I pick up this little tiller, or try to, and load it onto the trailer, but I can't. And it's like, what in the world's wrong with me? I just have no energy. Well, I came home, took a nap, couldn't do my normal stuff, got up after the nap, cooked out, had dinner, drove myself to the hospital. Melissa went with me. Well, Maria meets us there. I'm laying in a hospital room. As a matter of fact, in the same ER. I'm in the same trauma room where my dad died of a massive heart attack. So it's a weird feeling laying there. Well, we're waiting, and they come back and they said, your EKGs are fine. Your heart is strong. I said, good. And then the doctor comes back in and he says, oh, no, you got blood gases through the roof. You got an event going on right now. Where do you want to go? I said, Wake Med. They're the best in the world, but they had no bed. So they had to send me to Cape Fear Valley. But while that doctor's telling me that, I'm on the phone with Karen Pettit Materna. She's hearing the whole thing. Then Melissa and Maria Arias are right outside the room. They're there with me. That's how close knit everything is. Now, from that point on, all I know is they told me what they were going to do. They cathed me, which is a catheterization, which if you're lucky, they can just go up your arm. They tried, and it was too bad. You just couldn't. It was too bad. There were all 5 coronary arteries were shot, and they had been apparently. And this is the grace of God. And folks, I'm just telling you how grateful I am, because all 5 were shut down. But my body over the years, this wasn't something that just happened, but probably ever since DSS got involved in my life, the stress, believe me, it played a huge part. But my body had rewired itself to the heart. The blood vessels, they weren't arteries like they should have been, but the capillaries re-road mapped themselves to feed my heart. So they couldn't just go in. So they had to crack me open, go in. And then I was on life support and a vent tube for like 11 days in ICU. They didn't know that I was coming back. I didn't know that I was coming back. Everybody was in tears. And I got to tell you, I'm in my Hugh Hefner pajamas that they got me here. But that's because I'm telling you, I'm scary right now. I look like an Auschwitz victim. I'm not kidding you. It looks like they literally let the air out of me, because all your muscle tone and everything, you're just laying there. And I say that because, look, if you're laying on the couch, as we say, you're going to lose your muscle tone. You got to get up. You got to get going. You got to find a reason to get up and get going. And now the weirdest thing was when I did wake up, and this is a part of I guess all these anesthesiologists and everything have given me all this stuff, these drugs, these very powerful drugs. I guess they put me into a coma. But whenever you wake up, I had seen some weird things that we'll have to do a show on, but it was real. It was very real and just like animated, but I was seeing it. So there was a lot of crazy things. And in a minute, we'll go into the hat and some other stuff. But I wanted to say that, I thank God that I'm alive. But I thank God that I had my family, James Davis, Farrell Howard, all of my Croatan Indian people, George McDowell, everybody, Chief Wisehawk, Don Cohen, all of these people, Maria, Melissa, Karen, Bud Veno called me in the hospital, talked to him for a long time. Jay has had conversations with me. Look, folks, we care about one another. So when you hear Jay talk about, some people been with us and they had to go, it wasn't anything personal. Mm-hmm. It's not. But we are close knit enough that, we talk to each other about anything in the world, death, life. And I'm just here to tell you, we take this thing very serious because, I'm looking at so many things in my thread. 33-year-old, a man was fighting a dog off his daughter. It just popped up in my feed today. And they found him. He saved his daughter, but he had a heart attack and died. There were like 4 people in my thread. They had heart attacks and died during their sleep. I had pain. Pain is not normal for a man to feel with a heart attack, even though, you got the Fred Sanford. Most heart attacks, you don't feel the pain and you just die. So they never really said that I had one. Just an event is what they called it. But they saved my life. And for that, you get this heart. It's from Cape Fear Valley and the Cleveland Heart Center. And then all the nurses and everybody, they sign it for you. And every time you're going to cough, you got to grab it and hold it because you've been busted down the middle like a fish and it hurts to cough. But yeah. I'm here to tell you, I'm enjoying the pain right now because it beats the alternative. And you got no pain medicine. I'm taking ibuprofen. Okay. And that's because of this opioid thing, everything else. But back to before I get into the hat and some other stuff, I just want to say growing up, I lived in D.C. And when it comes to the veteran, I had a really good friend. His name was Mark Tucker. I was only 26 years old. And Mark had gotten sober. Mark needed to be sober. But Mark had saw a lot of things as a Navy SEAL. Mark was a really strong dude. And he liked to fight. He liked to rev it up. So we got along good. Well, Mark had gotten into a custody issue with his wife. It was D.C. Well, you can't even have a gun in D.C. Mark tried to call me one day. He tried to call Matt Lehman, our buddy, and he spent the night with Matt. And then the next day he's trying to call us both. He had gotten Matt's revolver, 45, and he was in D.C. in a bathroom. And he was holding it, and he was surrounded by cops. You can't have a gun in D.C. Mm-hmm. There were cops outside the house. But Mark had just won $44,000 in Atlantic City. He had on a jumpsuit. They had brought him back in a limo. He got big money. He was a gambler. He sold cars with me, but he was a gambler. And I couldn't believe it. But here's Mark threatening to commit suicide. But then he said, he told Matt Lehman, our buddy, no, I'm not going to do it. But this was about his children. He had plenty of money in his pocket. We're only in our 20s. He's got $44,000 in his pocket. He blew his brains out. He killed himself right there. PTSD combined with family court caused him to kill himself right there on the spot. And, it forever altered my view of everything. I'm not a veteran. My brother's not a veteran, but everybody else was. Everybody else in our family was. They just were. We always had disrespect. And I got to tell you, our veterans go to war for us to fight for our rights, which we don't appreciate as much as we should. We should show the appreciation by exercising our rights. and demanding that our rights be stood up for. So when Jay is reading this and we're listening to the little video, will you make him hush? He's gonna monkey on me over here. Well, give him something, a chip or something. God. But anyway, when you were hearing the lady lawyer argue that case, she was doing an end around of the law, because the judge was saying, so what you're telling me is we can't split this money. We can't divide it. There's a law against it. But what you're saying is you need to write a court order essentially doing the same thing and splitting it, but not calling it dividing it or splitting it. So that's where you get into, folks, when you get into court and you're in there. There are people who will find a situation like this in their lives in family court where they'll look at you and they'll say, well, he must have done something, or they can't do that. No, you probably didn't do anything. And yes, they can do that, not legally do it, not constitutionally do it, but they will do it. They will do it. And you're hung up in there. And just like this judge is saying, you can't legally do that, but the lawyer's looking for a way to do it and make it legal by doing it in a courtroom with a court order. And then you're taking away a veteran's only means of supporting himself. And it happens in other issues other than veterans too. Believe me, they trample your civil rights. They trample your the Bill of Rights doesn't mean a single thing whenever you're in family court. Mm-hmm. It's a little hidden court that shouldn't even exist, in my opinion, in the way that it exists right now. It's just a way to legally railroad people who have done the right thing, fought for their country, gotten their money, done whatever. Will you give him a chip or something? Well, he needs to eat them. But that's the things that you're up against. And when you see us on here doing these shows like this, folks, it's to make, sometimes it's not to give you legal advice. I can tell you that, but it's to give you some kind of hope. And I got to tell you, sometimes hope is all you have. And believe me, this event, while not the first time I've been told I was going to die or thinking I was gone, it has changed me even more. Each thing will change you. But this is not nearly as painful as it was that I felt whenever they came and took my daughter Cheyenne from me. Now, I won her back in record time, in a matter of a handful of months, but they kept coming at me. But when you have that happen to you, it puts you in a permanent state of PTSD. Loud noises, you jump. You've got situation because you're used to going into court. You get all pumped up, all excited. Then you walk into court and boom, they pull the rug out from under you. You don't have anything to show for all of this planning. I even had the little set of wheels where you pull all your carts, and I had all sorts of records and everything I'm going to use in court. Rah, rah, rah. You walk in there and not one bit of it matters. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, you never get to show it. If you do, they don't introduce it into the record. And then you walk out of there after being hyped up and waiting 3 months to go to court, 6 months to go to court. And then whenever you walk out, you have nothing to show for it. It's like getting all excited and then fall off a cliff. All excited and then fall off a cliff. So what Jay is telling you is accurate here. He's quoting you statutes and case law that's already out there, but you've got to raise these issues in court. Or get your attorney to raise these issues in court. And that's why we are here, is to give you a little bit of hope and a ray of sunshine in a otherwise negative, awful, nasty situation. It doesn't matter whether it's DSS or family court, custody court, whatever you want to call it. It's still this like no-win situation for you, where you found yourself caught up into. And I got to tell you, if there's any way whatsoever to stay away from family court and work this out with your spouse without going in there, you need to figure a way to do that. I'm going to tell you, that's how you truly win Even if you take a little bit of a loss and you can steer clear of the family court system, you're going to be better off than if you go in there and you got to go through this month after month after month after month, and not to mention what it does to your kids. So
Yeah,
I kind of rambled
absolutely.
on there.
No, that's good. I think it's exactly right what you're saying. I think that if we reform the system and we do it in the right way, and this is what I would suggest. I would suggest that mediators take a much more important role than a judge in a divorce. And why would I say that? I would say that mediators need to be skilled, they need to be trained, they need to understand that when they walk into a mediation process, the only thing that they need to say in the opening monologue of a case that has two adversarial parties in it is this: I don't give a crap what you think, and I don't give a crap what you think. I'm here to make sure that I care what the kids think. Do they love you? Yes. Oh, do they love you? Yes. Okay. Well, then both of you created this child. It's going to take both of you to raise these children. That's just how it is. And whether you like it or whether you don't, we're going to resolve the children issue first and foremost. I don't care if you want the stereo, and I don't care if you want the recliner. That makes no difference to me. What makes a difference to me is what happens with these children. As a mediator, that is what you need to say right off the bat. So mediators out there, if you're listening, that is what your job is to mediate. It's not to be on one side or the other or be swayed to either or. It is to stand up for the children in here who don't have a voice. That is your priority. That's what we do as the Future of Our Children's Video Network, is we stand up for the children. We love parents. We absolutely do. We love your rights. We love your everything about you. We get it. We understand. We understand that what you're going through is hard. Okay. But first and foremost, we are here for the children and what they believe in, what their rights are, their rights to both parents equally. And maybe that is an equal custody. Maybe that's not an equal custody. Maybe that's an issue where one parent has said some things and harmed the child or done something that is absolutely puts the child in imminent danger. If that's the case, then hey, that is taken into account. In that custody arrangement, a mediator would look at it and say, hey, look, you put the child in imminent danger or harm. I'm not going to go with you on this. We're going to know that she or he's going to get custody. That's just how it's going to be. We know that before you even walk into court, I'm going to be honest with you, you're not going to get custody. It's just not a possibility because you place those children in imminent danger or harm. That is no discussion. And we have probably hundreds. And I would say this because a mentor told me this way back when. He said 50% of this movement will never ever see their children because they've done something and put their children in imminent harm. They're just in here to be gratified and satisfied. That's all they're in this movement for. 50% of these people are in this, and there could possibly be some doing. 30% of these people, of that 50%, the only reason they may or may not have custody right now is because they're what's called overly emotional, or they have some type of issue or some type of problem that they can't get over, no matter what it is. Now, maybe this is a court order. Maybe this is a custody issue with a court order that says, hey, look, you need to go to anger management classes. You need to go do these classes or parenting classes or whatever it may be. Hey, if that's there, go do them. What is holding you back? Your children depend on you doing the right thing, and that's doing what the court asks you to do. Go do it. Okay? And a lot of times, I've even heard of some parents who have become non-custodial parents who see their children on a very, very limited basis, if any, and it's simply because they haven't taken parenting classes, of all things. of all things. When I look at some of their issues and reports, the judge told them to go take parenting classes and they didn't do it. That's it. That has kept them. And in some cases I've seen where it has kept them from their children from 6 to 8 years because they didn't go take parenting classes because they thought that they were above the parenting classes that they were told to take. No, we're telling you, do the right thing by your children. If that means taking parenting classes, take them. If that means anger management, then you take them. And I'm not sure why somebody's calling me right now because I wouldn't answer anyway. The same thing applies, and I'm probably rambling too. But I would say that the other 20% that we talked of, that 50% that we probably could help, are the people who actually will get custody of their children in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So the 30%, so you've got a line here, 50%. 50% will never help. It's just not going to happen. That 50% we could help is down here. 30% of those are overly emotional, and the other 20% will get their kids back. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So you've got to figure out, what group am I in? Am I in that 30% group, or am I in that 20% group, or maybe I'm in that 50% group up here? If you're in that 50% group up here, don't waste our time. Just don't waste our time. I mean, honestly, there's nothing that we can do for you. We wish that we could, but you've made mistakes. You've made issues, you've made problems, and you have to deal with those issues and problems. We can't help you do that. You have to do that on your own. And it's sad to say, Randy, but we see it all the time. I mean, honestly, we do. And we're seeing it even out of some people who have even retained custody.
Absolutely. And folks, like Jay said, look, I'm old and beat up. So, well, one thing, let me do this real quick too. Let me say hello to Reb Ryder of Surefire Radio, Rapid Fire Radio. Rapid Fire Radio. He always does our simulcast of our shows worldwide as we do them. But he's more than that. Reb has called me during my downtime, if you will. And let me just tell y'all, I'm not better. It's not that. I'm not better. Randy is not. I'm not able to even pull the weeds out of the garden, which is driving me crazy right now because everything was planted. And in this grass, this is the key. It's kind of like life. You can't, Tony Robbins says it like this. You can't pretend there's no weeds in your garden. You don't have to plant weeds. You don't. I'm telling you, and this is kind of like a DSS case or a custody case. You don't have to plant weeds. They just grow. The grass will just grow. What you don't want will just grow abundantly, and it will suffocate out what you do want, which is the cucumbers or the squash or the tomatoes, peas, whatever it is you want in life. It'll grow around it and just eat up all the nutrients out of it. So you can't pretend they're not there, else the weeds will take over your garden. So always pluck those kind of things out. And that's what Jay's talking about here. We've met people and talked with people who they'll say, well, can you help me? Well, yeah, what does your case plan say? Case plan, some don't even know they have a case plan. Some don't know what their last court order was. Some don't go to their own hearings. Now, there's hearings that are held ex parte and they don't know. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to people who were served. They have a summons, they have a court date, and they don't even go to their own court date. They show their tails and act out. And then, like he said, like Jay said, they don't even do their parenting class, a simple parenting class. Sometimes we can make it harder on ourselves by not doing some small thing. And there's several out there on the internet. Y'all know who these people are. They're all over Facebook, who are nothing but provocateurs. They're going to tell you every lawyer is evil. Every GAL is evil. Every psych doctor is evil. Every therapist is evil. Every judge is the devil. And everybody's selling baby organs everywhere you go. And everybody's Illuminati and Freemasons are the devil. And everybody is up to no good. And that's not true. That is not true. If you truly feel that way, you have no reason to live. Think about it. These are people who are emotional vampires who are telling you this, because if you feel every human on earth except for you is no good and out to steal your children and you, and I'm talking about every one of them, then why? Who wants to live in a world like that? What are you going to do? Get in a cave and go hide in the woods and not have a family, not go anywhere? I mean, that's the thing. Are there people out there in these systems that are bad and evil? You doggone right they are, and I videoed them. I videoed them in courtrooms. I videoed them in DSS meetings, CFTs, PPATs, BIPs, IEPs, 504 meetings, IDEA meetings. I've been in all of them. So don't think that I found my share of rotten apple, and there's a lot of rotten apple. But the point I'm trying to make is, just like Jay's saying, you still have to keep the hope. You have to know there's a remnant. The remnant, as God would say, there's a remnant everywhere. There's somebody always somewhere there to help you. And you've got to find and seek those people out. And you certainly can't give up hope. You got to have a reason to get up every day, folks. I'm telling you, you got to have a reason to get up and want to go at it full force. And if it's nothing more, then to just make sure, Cheyenne Davis, she was strong. And she told everybody, she said, my dad will make sure not only do you have to pay for what you've done, but he will never quit. He will never quit. Now, why did she know that? Because in all my life, she was with me and she knew I never quit. And she knew how much she meant to me. So that was a gift from God, my daughter. And I was made to be her shepherd. I was put here to shepherd her, to protect her. And whenever they did that, she knew Daddy was never going to give up. Now, there's a difference between some daddies. And I'm going to tell you, Jay kind of hit on a point here. And this may be a good soul searching and a cleansing show to do here. But I'm going to tell y'all, the 50-50 shared custody is a myth. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I think that's a good starting point in fairy tale land, to think that 50-50 can happen in every case, but it cannot happen in every case. If you don't know somebody rotten in a relationship, whether it's the woman who's turned out to be strung out on drugs or can't stay at home or restless or wild or whatever, or whether it's the man who wants to chase women all day, who's a gambler, stays drunk, won't keep a job, is not a protector of the family, is not the man of the house that he was designed to be, but he's going to run around. He beats the woman, okay, or the woman who beats the man, or the man and woman both who bring the children into the arguments and the fight. There are some people, some of them are molesting their own children. We've seen it. We've seen it right here, Facebook, news, everything else. Some of them are beating the mothers in front of the children. Some of them are beating the fathers in front of the children. Some of them are encouraging the children to do things that are dangerous. Some of them are not protecting the children from the natural dangers that should be outside the home, and they're bringing them inside the home. Some of them, there's some people, some men we've seen in this movement that they shouldn't be in a relationship with anybody. So to say, well, that man should have that child 50% of the time, that would be idiotic. Idiotic. Oh, yeah. We're looking at the case right now. What is it up in Connecticut? And you've got a man there. Apparently, you've got they had custody battles back and forth. 5 kids involved, and he and the girlfriend now, I think she bonded out under $500,000. He's still in jail, not bonding out. But they got the videos of him hiding the bloody clothing of the ex-wife in several trash cans, 30 different ones. There's no doubt they'll get the woman who's the girlfriend to flip. There's no doubt. And sadly, I think we'll find out that the mother of the 5 children has been murdered. She had said that he was a dangerous man. They had the children at her mother's house. And the first thing the mother did, the grandmother did today, was file for custody. I've been watching that situation because you got 5 kids. Otherwise, DSS will come and get involved. But there's armed bodyguards protecting those 5 kids. So this was a dangerous man and this is just outside of New York. This was a dangerous man. There's no way this man should have 50-50 custody. There is no way, because there's something psychologically wrong. Just like the story Jay mentioned earlier that we'll get into very shortly, because when James Hagner is the man who stood up for a child that's now dead. And he tried to prevent it, and DSS dropped the ball. But that is a story that I was working on right before what happened to my heart happened. But I got to tell y'all that there's some people shouldn't be around children at all. They may have had them, but they should be supervised around children at best. And I mean that on both sides. It's not a male-female issue. It's just is what it is. There's some bad people. You know, if you start out with a bad person, you're going to have a bad doctor. You're going to have a bad lawyer. You're going to have a bad GAL. You're going to have a bad preacher. You're going to have a bad school teacher. Look, it doesn't matter. A bad person is not going to make a good teacher and or a good parent or a good anything. So there's some things out there that we need to get away from. And I kind of just felt the need to say that, because I see these people all the time running around 50-50, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. I understand that. It sounds good, but it's been beat like a dead horse. And I don't know where that goes.
Some of it's right. I think some of it's right. And then I think some of it is not right as well. I mean, what the bills that they're talking about really would do is to make the starting point 50-50 custody in a normal issue, issue. Now, if you've got extenuating circumstances in which one parent was or put the child in imminent danger or harm, then obviously that's going to sway that needle one way or the other, and it should, And if there's an imminent harm or danger situation, at the very best, we're talking about custody in which you would have to go to a facility and pay in order to see those kids, because somebody's got to supervise those visits. And there is even a particular issue of a person from North Carolina that we both had never even heard of before. DSS paid this individual, put this individual in an airplane, and put them in a hotel in order to see their kids. And this situation will come out very shortly as well, because this person is within the movement, and it is absolutely asinine and insane. And I think that there's a whole lot more behind that situation. And we have our people on it right now, even people that we don't have within our group at this particular time, because we have to keep them so private. But there will be pictures and audio forthcoming on that particular issue, and I can guarantee you that. So I won't even mention the particular name right now, but everyone knows who that person is. And it's very sick, and it's very wrong that DSS would ever pay for a non-custodial parent to fly to a different state, put them up in a hotel room, and let them see their kids when they gave up all of their rights, all of their custodial rights. They gave them up gladly. And yet DSS is funding this particular issue. This is some of the things that we're seeing are insane. Literally
insane people. Look, I'm telling you, that particular case drives me nuts, because this is a worthless human being. I understand he fathered these children, but he is worthless. He's terminated his rights to other children. Then you got a case here in North Carolina where it's two twins, and you're about to have a monster of a case situation that's going to come out in this story. It involves North Carolina senators. I assure you, it involves private investigators who've been before these senators this week or this last week, and they are pounding these people. And these senators are saying one thing, and I want to just get this out there to the people who think, because I'm not against equal shared parenting. I want to make sure that everybody understands that, number one. I'm just saying it's a fantasy to think that every single case would be 50-50.
Right.
It should be, but even in a regular relationship where the mother and father are together, what would I do right now? It would be like 90-10. You understand? Because daddy's down. Daddy's down right now. So things go back and forward. But you're going to see some big stories coming out, and I'm not sure if they're being driven by the Safe Families Act that was signed into law, so that now the money has to go to try and promote families being together. If that's what's pushing it, Melissa's case, the child's with a guy who beat him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just insane. The DSS case is over, but it's just insane. And a judge knew it. And in the stuff we've uncovered, and a judge that's no longer a judge in Lee County, North Carolina, but now is in Wake County as a DSS attorney. But see, this involves 2 cases in 2 counties and was involved. It's mind-boggling, folks. I'm just telling you, when I got involved in this thing, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to turn to. But I also didn't know the players or the extent of the quote-unquote game that's being run. But when it comes to North Carolina now and somebody names a judge or names a DSS attorney or so-and-so moved from this spot to that spot, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I know this chessboard now. I've seen that piece. I've saw the rook come at the castle before. You understand? I've saw my knight get wiped out by your queen from the side over there before. So these things are not strange to us anymore. So we're not experts at anything. I don't want you to think that at all. I just want to tell you that our thing is we've just been beat harder down the road you're about to go down if you're just now starting.
Mm-hmm.
We were just been beaten harder than most and kept going. Heart attacks, emergency throat surgery. I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that we've been through that thank God you don't have to. But out of all of these crazy things, there's so many things going on that you just can't believe would happen. We've got, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to tell you, we'll announce it here, because we've been talking about the contempt, because that's what you're talking about in the beginning, a show cause. You get brought into court, you got to show cause while you're not in contempt. Melissa's case, they threatened her with a year in jail for criminal contempt. Criminal contempt. Wake County, a county she doesn't even live in, Judge Davidian, okay? And I've been threatened with it, but hers, she told him to go screw himself. That's what she told him. I haven't. And why was she in contempt? Because law enforcement called her at midnight saying her son had been beaten by the father. Come and get him. And she did. And that put her in contempt. And so Wake County, it didn't even happen in Wake County. So then Wake County does a show cause on her, threatens her, and then puts her, if you'll sign this, you won't go to jail for a year. You'll go scot-free. You'll just have a charge. She said, go F yourselves. They said, well, we're going to trial. Mm-hmm. So they have a mock-up trial. We know she's going to get found guilty. They give her 8 days. After 2 days, they're begging me to come and get her in Raleigh. I said, I'm not coming and getting her. She's going to serve all 8 days. Mm-hmm. No, she's taking an electronic monitoring device and you got to come and get her. I said, I'm not coming and getting her. She's going to serve all 8 days. She's already appealed it, and she did. She appealed it on the very first day. Should have got to stay. She stayed in 2 days. They kicked her out on the street and told me to come and get her. I did. Well, then they said, well, we got to do this. We got to do that. Well, it's now in Superior Court, different judge, a real court. They kept putting it off. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We don't know how to dismiss it. Well, they just dismissed it. We just got the dismissal, folks. You can go look. You're not going to find her anywhere at all out there with any charges whatsoever. 3 felonies before, a criminal contempt on her before. She doesn't have any of that now. Was it painful? Was it drawn out? Yeah. But I'm telling you this to give you hope. If you're in the right, you tell them go F yourself. You don't let them just tell you, sign here that you're guilty and we'll let you go with time served 2 days and threaten you with a year. No, you don't do that. But you got to be smart. And Karen Pettit Materna, she helped guide us through that. She helped guide us through that. Be smart about what it is you're doing here. But even with all of that, Melissa's case is now in the North Carolina Supreme Court. not in the Court of Appeals, in the North Carolina Supreme Court. Now, this is going to be an interesting, whatever happens. But it takes a long time. That case opinion probably won't come out until January of next year. Now, that's how courts really work. And one thing about us, we'll tell you the truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. Most of the time, it's not going to be what you want to hear. You know, Tessie Bear writes. She won her case 3 days after going on Cheyenne's Corner, which is Cheyenne's show at a time. But that's not normal. That's not normal. Most of the time, I got news for you. You're going to be in for a long, drawn out, painful, awful thing. And it's because our government is out of control. Our government is out of control, and people are legislating from the bench. They are changing laws from the bench. And, you know, it's a sad thing, folks, but until it hits more people and more people become disgusted with it, we're not going to see any change. But I hope to be a part of that change. I'm glad to be here to be a part of that change. And just grateful for Jay and Bud and Neil and Yaya and everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into talking about some mental health issues, I think it would be great to tell your story, because I think it's just an amazing, empowering story about that article of clothing that you have sitting right next to you.
Yes. Look at this, folks. And I want to tell you this hat. Now, you'd have to understand, and look, Red Brighter probably like this one. But this hat, and it fits. We're in the hospital. And I got to tell you, I just woke up. I'd been in a coma. I had no idea where I was. I thought I was hallucinating from all of the drugs and everything. Plus, you got to understand with open heart, the way it does, when you're having 5 of them done, they stop your heart. When they say bypass, you're put on a machine that pumps your blood for you, because what they do is they go in your leg and yank a vein out. And my leg still hurts too, by the way. But they yank a vein out. And when they yank the vein out, they use that vein in order to go in and bypass the blockages or whatever's going on in your heart. So now I've got 5 new coronary arteries, basically, from a leg vein that's been taken out and been put in here. And it's a painful ass thing. I got to tell you, your chest plate is cut open with a saw, and it's painful. But I'm glad to be here. But you're looking for any ray of hope you can when you're laying there, because you are so helpless. Your body has diminished. And then whenever I wake up, I'm thinking everybody is a cartoon. I'm seeing things. I saw things while out that nobody should ever see. And we'll go into that in a different show. But I'm looking for a ray of hope. And as we sit there, they had just had me walk for the first time. So I couldn't even stand up. I'm telling you, I got a nurse on each side. They're walking, and they're telling me how good I look. They're like, "You look so good." And I said, "Are you crazy? I look like ass. I feel like ass. My chest is busted wide open. I look like they've let the air out of me. My God, I'm skin and bone." And they're like, "No, you'd had to see you before." And then believe me, Melissa's showing me pictures, and God, folks, I'm telling you, it was death. I'm just telling you, death. But this woman, anyway, walks in, and we're at Cape Fear Valley, because I went to one hospital here. They couldn't handle me, so they had to ship me out. Wake was full, so we're at Cape Fear Valley. So I'm in the ICU, and this woman is walking through, and she's wearing this hat. And I said, man, that's a nice hat. And I'm thinking she's just walking through there. And I've never seen her. Nobody knows who she is. And she said, "That's because that's your hat." I said, "That's not my hat. That's your hat." She said, "No, this is your hat. Try it on. It'll fit." And I put it on and it fit. And she said, "It's your hat, and you will wear this hat, and you will wear it as you give speeches nationally." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You know what I'm talking about. You're going to be giving speeches all over the world. You're going to be giving these speeches." I said, "I can't even walk." She said, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but that's your hat." And she left. That was it. I'm telling you, she walked me in, said, "This is your hat. You're going to be giving speeches with it on," and went right out the other door. Just
Dang.
like that. So, and now I'm telling you, I got goosebumps on me right now because, folks, that little bit that gave me hope. I had doctors, they were, when people are telling you, we don't know what's going to happen. And they're telling Melissa, they're telling my family, we don't know if he's going to make it or not. And they were like, we didn't know whether you were going to pull through. But this woman comes through, gives me a hat, says, "Nope, it's just for you," and it fits. And says, "You're going to be giving speeches with it on." I took her word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to grasp, to make you understand God was involved. Then this other woman is standing there. These nurses were all standing there with their mouths open. And they said, "God has got something for you." And I said, "What?" And they said, "That doesn't happen. Who in the world comes through and has got a hat that fits you and everything else? And you're just so crazy." And that's what they told me in there. Because look, I am not kidding you. And I hope I can make it show. I don't know if I can or not. Let's see. Where is it? It should be on this side. You can see what rev it up. The one that's one of the head nurses right there. I was handing out, and Melissa was handing out the Watchman and Future of Our Children Video Network cards in the hospital. And I'm telling you, these people were mesmerized. These were medical technicians, pulmonary surgeons. I mean, these were all people who were amazed at what's happening right here in North Carolina and in our court system. And they were like, "You are revved up. You are super excited." And they would come by just to mess with me. Just to mess with me, just say, "Hey, we're just here." And they do pretty much whatever. And they were like, people in your shape, usually they're real quiet and everything, but you're just wide open. And my heart was in it, literally. My heart was in it, but my body was just weak. I got to tell you, but I thought about all of y'all during it. And if you can get through this, is my thought. And they told me, they said, "Mr. Davis, the thing is, you've lived with your heart with you had 100. They're talking about these coronary arteries were 100% blocked. Mm-hmm. And then the little capillaries had grown around and fed my heart." So they said, once this is opened up, the problem's going to be holding you back. Because all of a sudden you're going to have all of this energy. You're going to have, and I have it all, but it's like a car, and you got the good fuel in it now. You got everything running, but I got some weak tires. I can't go out here and spin no wheels yet because I'll crash. That's the only thing is I've got to still heal up, but I wouldn't have missed tonight for anything in the world. And I hope it gives somebody some hope. But out of it too, I want to tell y'all, a big part of this issue, it was congenital. Okay, it's going to be hereditary. There were always heart problems with everybody in my family, it seems like. But a major trigger to this thing is stress, PTSD. You can think, I'm the toughest guy in the world. I'll be there. I'll fight DSS. I'll do whatever. But I'm telling you, get your rest, eat right. I know it's hard. Believe me, I'm not the one to be lecturing you on this, except I know don't take everything personal. Yep. Don't take everybody on the internet as your friend or as your enemy. Don't let their problems mount up to the point that you can't handle their monkeys on your back.
That's right.
Now, I'm telling you, take some time for you. And if you got your kids, whether it's a weekend, a month or two, or you got them all the time, hug them.
Mm-hmm.
Hug them and love them. You got family and friends, tell them that you love them. Make sure that they know it, because in the twinkling of an eye, you can be gone from here. You can be out of here, and your show is over, your game is over, your chess match is done, and there'll be no going back to rewrite it after you're out of here. But love yourself. Take care of yourself. Feel good about yourself. And if you're not feeling the best you can, call one of us. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I got a lady messaging me now. She's watching, and she just, it's like people just gravitate to her. She got some questions. I don't know whether I'll be able to help her or not, but I can tell you one thing. I won't uninspire her. I will do my best to make sure that she's inspired with whatever I tell her. We won't lie to anyone. And we would do our very best to give some uplifting news to whoever asks for it. So
Exactly.
with that, that's my little motivational prophetic
Awesome.
thing.
Awesome.
Oh, what? Dismissal. Oh, and you know, I want to say this too, because there's a certain military family that's at Bragg. They're going through this thing right now, and this is a good family. And when I say good family, I'm talking about solid. And I won't do anything to give away this case, but North Carolina has put this family through hell for absolutely no reason, zero reason whatsoever, and the reason I bring that up is twofold. One, because they need encouragement. They do. They've done all the right things. They have been great parents. And I believe everything's going to end in their favor. But during this, also something came up because it's like a DSS case. And in this particular case, not to get into too deep or anything, but for the first time, and I asked Karen Pettit Materna about it, they came up with mediation. And usually DSS doesn't do mediation.
Yeah.
So this is something that's new. And Karen said she had just seen one down in Alabama. So somebody else out there might know a little bit more about the mediation used in DSS cases. They do it a lot of times with custody cases, and they always do it if there's a civil lawsuit. You got to go to mediation. But apparently they're going into some new things that they haven't done before, and there's benefits to it and there's drawbacks to it. Right. But I am very grateful to know this one family, and one day their story will come out. And this is a soldier. This is a veteran that's active, that's military right now, just like the one in Washington State is. And DSS, social services, all these people, and family court, they don't care. They don't care that these people are protecting our rights. They don't care that these people have. Well, right. And Shane Davis is watching. He's a Marine. He's always going to be a Marine. And he's going to be helping us do some other stuff. But yeah, I just want to say, stay positive, stay upbeat. The stuff we tell you is real. And keep yourself healthy. Absolutely.
And I think with healthy that we were talking about as well, we're talking about not just physically healthy, but also mentally and emotionally healthy as well. I mean, when you're going through some of these cases that people are going through, you're going to see relapses of mental health issues. You're going to see issues in which may come up that that you never even knew that you had a mental health condition. You're going to see some of these things go into work, go into play. So be aware of that, be mindful of that, be open and receptive if someone says, hey, look, we think that it might be a good idea if you went to counseling. That's always something that you should be open and mindful to, because some of those things, I mean, we're very lucky that we're able to do a lot of the things that we do on the air. So for us, being on the air a lot of the times, especially Bud and myself, we find it very therapeutic that we get to be on. One of those things that I would probably say mental health issue wise is mental health is such an open issue within my particular life, because I have a mother who is going through issues where she is not only dealing with bipolar depression, but she is paranoid schizophrenic, which is it's not easy for me to tell people about. But at the same time, my brother has reached out to several people within the family over and over again without any real help. So I've got a brother who lives with my mom just to make sure that he can take care of her. And the issues that we deal with You know, when I was homeless, I couldn't live with my mom because of the fact that she lived in an apartment. My brother lived with her, but it was very, I don't know. I want to say it in this particular way because I love my mom dearly, but it just was not a good situation for me, especially when at the time I was trying to continue working when I was first going through my issues and my divorce, and was trying to live with my mom and live on her couch and help her with the rent and everything else. And then you're going to sleep and you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning because your mom's standing over you because she can't sleep and she's restless and she has mental issues and anxiety and all of these different things. And she's got paranoid schizophrenia, thinking that somebody is telling her in her head that I'm going to be hurt while being in her apartment. I mean, some of those things are very, very strange, and they may seem strange, but to the person who's going through those issues, they think they're reality. They really do. They think honestly, they think that someone is always there to hurt them. Someone's always there to harm them. And I think a lot of times, and I'm going to say this in this way because I've seen a lot of people go through these things, I think that there are some real people who deal with issues of paranoia in the movement. Someone's always out to get me. Someone's always out to take my platform. Someone's always out to take this, and someone's always out to take that from me. No one's here, and no one should be here in the movement to take anything away from you. The movement needs to start being a place where you can feel comfortable in the fact that you can go to people for advice, go to people for knowledge, and go to people for support. That is what this movement needs to start being about. You can't be a movement if you don't deal with some of the issues and the anxieties and the pressures and the mental illness that probably is running rampant in this movement without us even knowing about it or even having diagnosis of it. And I think some of the people who may possibly be experiencing these things, I think you should check out Dr. Mark Roseman. I think you should actually seek out some of the doctors and the mental health professionals that we have had on the program in the past. I think that you should really pay attention to the possibility of that maybe your issues are your issues. They're not other people doing things to you. I think that so very, very often in this movement, I'm loosely saying movement. But I will say this, I think that there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with bipolar, schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, all of these different issues, PTSD, anxiety, or legal abuse syndrome. Some people want to word it legal abuse syndrome, but I don't think that's an official definition as of yet. But there are a lot of mental disorders that are running rampant, I believe, in this movement. And I think you have to pay attention to yourself. Are you taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Because all of these different things are going to add up when you walk into court, because this is what I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to give you the biggest piece of advice as a person who has gone through the family courts and has dealt with having attorneys represent me or representing myself. I would say that if you have an attorney that you feel comfortable with, that will work for you and work with you, that is the attorney that you need to seek. Don't have anybody tell you that you don't need an attorney. First off, more than likely, a lot of the times, attorneys will get heard. You won't. And it's not right. It's not fair that the court system works that way. But a lot of the times, attorneys will get heard and you will not get heard. Okay? The other thing is, what if you get called to testify? Okay, are you going to plead the fifth and say, no, I'm not going to take the stand? Then they're going to think you're withholding something because you're guilty. And you can't question yourself while you're on the stand. So then when you get off the stand, you're giving a statement. Now, a lot of the times, they're not going to sit there and listen to your incoherent ramblings for 5 hours. It's just not going to be beneficial for them. They're trying to get the case done because they have the next case coming in within the next hour. So you have to be mindful of these things. So in the best interest of what I'm saying to you, I'm saying that you really need to think highly about, do I hire an attorney? Do I hire one that works for me? Who's going to work for me? And I'm going to tell you this. The guy or the gal that can represent you the best is the attorney who will come across the desk and give you a big hug and who will tell you it's going to be okay. I'm going to do whatever I can do to help you out. That is the attorney that you want. You don't want the attorney that says, well, I might be able to do this for you, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. You need a different attorney than that. You need someone who's going to work for you and in your best interest. Why I'm telling you all of these things is the biggest piece of advice that I can give you. If you have an attorney, find a spot on the wall, pick it out and stare at it for an hour. Think about anything and everything that you want to think about. Don't make any reaction whatsoever. If it's oh, well, my ex got on the stand and she said this and I want to roll my eyes, don't roll your eyes. Don't roll your eyes.
No.
Put that spot on the wall. Forget about it.
Yeah, and Jay, let me jump in here too. And y'all may have seen my fly strip hanging up above my head, but this is the country. And flies get in here and look, the only thing I'm allowed to do right now is rest. I can't pull a weed from the garden. I got out there the other day and got on the Gravely. Now, it's a $7,000 lawnmower. So it's like riding on a hover round, I thought. So I mowed a little bit of grass and I paid for that. I did. I paid for that. Because you got your breastplate been cut out. But you got to know your limitations and you got to believe the doctors when they tell you you need to rest for nothing but 6 weeks. You need to be waited on, which I'm enjoying that part. But all I do is sleep, and these flies were just aggravating me. So I hung a strip up there. So that's what you saw. But as to the attorney, look, you got to trust somebody. I wouldn't trust them 100%. I'd make sure they were doing their job. And as some of those listening know, what you got to do first, and I saw Jay commenting on that to somebody earlier, is you have got to download. If you're in North Carolina, it's going to be called Chapter 7B. That's the child welfare laws. Now, Chapter 7B of the North Carolina General Statute, you've got to go in there and pull that up. B as in boy. And you've got to know them. Because there are certain, yes, you have rights, but there are also certain statutes that are out there that they have to follow. Now, those are the things you want to make sure are set up in case you have an appeal. And that's where your lawyer comes in, is to get your stuff in there. Jay and I and Cheryl Lagars also know that getting your evidence in, we have a PDF file. We'll send it to you. In that PDF file, it is a parental report. And it follows your case. It puts your timeline together for you. It's a fill-in-the-blank situation. You've got to write it out yourself. But whether it's DSS or it's custody, it really doesn't matter. It's for a permanency planning hearing. But that's the same thing. You just reword it to fit yours. We'll send it to you. It's where you get your information in, your report in, because others are getting their reports in. They are getting them in there. You may not see them get them in there, but they're getting them in, and they're in that court record. So you want to make sure that you're setting it up so a judge knows on appeal is going to get overturned. And that's your biggest hurdle in my mind, is the evidence, is getting the evidence and getting your story into the record. And believe me, I went to court and court watched several. I mean, it was almost like a sport for a long time. And I've testified several times, been thrown out. Had courtroom shut down and swept for bugs. Mistrials called because we got the evidence in. And then I've watched as parents who did really well whenever they're practicing how they're going to be on the stand. And they were really hardcore. They were like alligators. You know, they had tough skin like a rhino. But then they get up there and they lose it. They lose it. And if you don't have an attorney of some sort to help you through those situations in the courtroom, they will eat you. These are sharks that go to the same place every day. They're comfortable in there. Me, I go in there, I'm sick to my stomach when I go to court. I'm telling you, you may look and you say, oh, Randy does good. Look how he stays so calm. That's what I want you to see. But underneath, my stomach is sick. And if we're out of court by lunch, which is rare, and we come home, I crash. I crash. Why? Because it is like evil in there, and you can feel it. You can sense it. And whenever you're out of there, you're like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Win, lose, or draw, you walk out of there feeling terrible. So if you've got an attorney to help walk you through these things, you just want to make sure they're doing their job. I'm not telling you to put your whole heart. You know, the Bible says, you know, trust no man. Trust no man. Put your confidence in the Lord. But when you go in there, you need somebody to try and guide you through it. Just make sure that they're doing the right thing. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure you got your own stuff straightened out. And for God's sake, some of you who are working on your own cases, don't go out here and try to advocate for other people. You get yourself into an emotional train wreck because you got all these other people's cases spinning in your head. And you're hearing all this BS they're spewing. Oh, I can make a phone call and end your case. Oh, I can write a bloody affidavit for you. Oh, I can file this. Oh, there's a, what do they call it? Arbitration agreement where we can do this. Oh, you're a sovereign citizen. Get that junk out of your head, because I'm telling you, you'll walk into a courtroom and lose your rights to your kids or lose custody to someone else if it's family court because you were silly enough to believe what looked to be easy on Facebook. Don't do that. There is no easy way out of this. I'm just telling you, there is no easy way out of this. Sometimes the hardest way is the best way, and that's to do the right thing, cover all your bases, attend all of your meetings, record them. Yeah, record them. Record them. Don't tell them what you're doing, but record them. I still have 150 videos we've never put out there yet. You can go to Randy Davis on YouTube and look up Randy Davis, or you can Google, you know, arrested and detained Sampson County, Randy Davis arrested, whatever. You'll pull it up. You will. You'll find plenty of videos. You'll see how the meetings go. You'll see how these things happen. But learn as much as you can. The confidence of learning and having that education will give you confidence when you're before these people and they're trying to shred you. And just the key is to know when they're lying to you, and to know that most of the time they're lying to you. I'm just telling you, they're lawyers, they're GALs, they're therapists, but they will still lie to you. So don't trust these people. But make sure you have a lawyer or somebody to guide you along, and try not to make it be adversarial. Try, as hard as it is adversarial, but try to do the right thing. Get through your case plan, get your stuff over with as fast as you can, get your kids back home, go to the beach and enjoy your life, and don't get back into it again. And for God's sake, stay off Facebook with your personal business. That's right. Do not put the stuff out there. Look, once it's over, you can do whatever you want to do. But if you do it during your case, do it in order to steer your case, to make them think you're going one way when you're going another one. But look like Betty Crocker. Look like Martha Stewart on there. Bake some cookies. Put a picture of the cookies. But don't be putting your personal case information all over Facebook. It will not help you. And in fact, they will hit you with a stack of screenshots on that stand, and you won't know what in the world hit you up there. So don't get out here and just be stupid in order to get some attention or make yourself feel good. It'll work in the short term, but I assure you, it will destroy you whenever you get back in a court of law, and judges don't like it. And whether you like these judges or not, they are God when they're in there. They shouldn't be God when they're in there, but they are God. It's their courtroom, and they will do whatever they want to do in there. Not legally, not constitutionally, but they will. So try and go along to get along as best you can. I'm not saying kiss up and do stuff you shouldn't be doing, but if it's court ordered, then do it. Just do it and get through the junk and move on with your lives. And that's the best
That's right.
information I got for you today.
Yeah, and that's the kind of crazy part for you. I mean, they say, okay, DSS lawyers are like gamblers. How do you know if you can trust a gambler? You can't, because they always lie. That's the truth. And DSS, when we're talking about, we have what Sean McMillan just won a case, a couple of years back, the right to lie case against DSS. And that should tell you something, that we have DSS attorneys that are out there that they are lying. They know that they're lying, but they also know if they get away with it, they get their raise, they get the promotion, they get whatever it takes to take care of their family and put food on their table. That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why some of these attorneys are doing what they're doing. Don't get me wrong here. My ex's attorney, I walked into court and dealt with her attorney talking to my attorney on what car he had just bought. Oh, I just bought this new Mercedes. It's probably about the 10th car that I own now. But literally, that should tell you something. And it should tell you this. Not only was he going after attorney's fees from me, he was going after attorney's fees from her later on. So in the end, who lost on that situation? It wasn't necessarily me. Yeah, I may have lost some money here. It wasn't necessarily her. Who loses? The kids. Because that's money that could have went in a college fund for those children. And instead, it went to another car in that lawyer's parking lot. And that's just sad. And it's harmful. And it's hurtful. There are some attorneys out there that are sharks. And they're here and they smell blood in the water. They do. When you walk into courtroom, a lot of them, when you walk into a courtroom pro se, they're smelling the blood in that water. They're smelling it. And they know that you're out of place. So how do you get yourself into place? You make sure, like Randy said, that you get your information into the record. Once your information is into the record, it's going to be very, very hard for them not to do one of two things: declare mistrial or know that they've set themselves up for an appeal. Okay? So that's the issues that you need to get in there. You've got to get in there. You've got to challenge the constitutionality of the statutes. I hear so many people complaining over and over again, well, they shouldn't be able to do this. The federal law protects me. Yeah, but it's because you didn't challenge the state and their statute to the constitutionality. You didn't challenge it, therefore it is what it is. Okay? And then 40 years later, now you're going to want to complain, well, they took thousands of dollars from me and I couldn't do anything. No, it isn't that you couldn't do anything. It's that you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. So,
Jay, here's another thing, folks. This is part of, because we're talking about mental health, but this is where it comes into it, is you get all psyched up because you got a hearing. You've been waiting for 3 months. You go to the hearing. You think something's going to change. And you walk into that hearing and it's a non-secure or it's a custody hearing. And you walk out and you're like, what just happened? And then, so what do? You're writing your governor, you're writing your attorney general, you're writing the ombudsman, you're going to DSS, you're doing the meetings, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and yet nothing is changing. And you run into what's called cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is when you've been told all your life and you've had this firm belief, this global belief inside you that this can't happen, that you have rights and that there are laws to protect you. And then you wake up one day and you realize nobody cares. Nobody cared to help you protect your rights. You may have fought for this country and you fought so everybody else would have these rights. And then when you walk into a court of law, there aren't any. There are no rights. You don't have any rights. You don't have anybody to go to complain about it. And then whenever you do, you go to DHHS, you go to the school, you go to the therapist, you go to the GAL, you go to DSS, directors, you go to the governor, the AG, everybody, and nobody is there to help you. Why? They're all being paid out of the same pot, and they don't care whether you're hurt or not, because the funding has to keep coming. The Title IV, Title VII, Title IX, Title 14, Title 19, and Title 20. There's more than just Title IV. So all this money is flowing into these states, and you're wondering what's happening, and you're thinking, oh my God, I've got this insurance policy called federal agencies that are there to protect me. I've got ACLU, I've got NAACP, I've got ICWA, I've got Indian Child Welfare Act. And then you wake up one day and realize it's all a charade. It doesn't exist. And now you are on your own. And what does that do? That triggers the PTSD in you. That makes you feel helpless, lost, hopeless, but you're not. I'm telling you, it may just take a long time. I hate to be the bearer of that, but that was the best news I ever got, was somebody told me, hang on for a long time, because it take a long time. And it is, folks. I'm telling you, if it doesn't, be grateful. But for most, you need to plan for a long time and try to get out of that courtroom as fast as you possibly can, and then work things out in an amicable kind of way and stay out of that courtroom, because it's no place. I don't care how strong you are, it will destroy you. I don't care how tough of a man you are or what kind of a mama bear you are. When you're separated from those that you gave birth to, and you've been there and you loved, and a government agency, if this was a terrorist organization came into your house and yanked your children out, you'd be firing shots and going off and fighting to get them back. But when it's federal officials and state and government officials and agencies doing it, you can't do that. So you're handcuffed, and it's against everything that nature put in you. The Creator put in there for you to be the protector and to protect your children. And then suddenly you can't. You physically can't without getting shot. You can't do it. And that's where the mental issues come in. And if you didn't have them before, I assure you, you will have them. And you will face them. There were times when I didn't recognize myself. And if it wasn't for my Croatan Indian family and my friends, I wouldn't have made it. I'm just telling you, you may have seen tough Randy doing this and that and the other. Oh, he's revved up. Look. But inside, I cried. I hurt. I spent 5 months in jail with no order, no charge, no warrant. 5 months until I filed a writ of habeas. And I laid in that cold bed in that B112. B112, that was my cell in Sampson County, maximum security, out for an hour a day to go eat. That was it. Otherwise, I'm in my cell reading for no reason whatsoever. Did I win? Yeah. But it took me 5 months in there to get out. You don't want to end up in there. I'm telling you right now, it is no game, and it is very real whenever that happens. And if you don't come out of it with some mental scars, there's something wrong with you. You were a psychotic or a sociopath or something, because this is not natural. So don't be afraid to say, look, this has changed me, and I need to get back. You'll never be back to who you were, but I need to get back to some sort of a plan and get my head wrapped around life. And we can help you. We can.
Absolutely. And I will say this: if you've ever been through a divorce situation where you become a non-custodial parent, or if you've ever had your children taken from you by DCFS or CPS or DSS, I can guarantee you this: you will find yourself taking long walks and talking to yourself. I can guarantee you it. And don't think that that's unnatural. That is very natural, because you are trying to figure out how do I wrap my mind around what just happened to me. That's okay. That's okay. Now, when you start to answer your own questions, that might be a different story. So I'm just letting you know that, just in case, you're thinking, hey, have I gone nuts here because I'm talking to myself while I'm taking these long walk off a short pier kind of thing. That's natural. It's natural that you would be trying to wrap your mind around what just happened to me. How do I get a grip on what's going on around me? And how do I focus? And what's the next steps that I need to take to get to where I'm going? where, you know, I see myself, I envision myself here. How do I build a staircase to get to that point? Okay, that's natural. There's nothing unnatural about that. Okay, so I don't want you to think that that is hey, I've lost it, I'm off the deep end, I'm loony. No, you're not. You're not. And like Randy was saying, and our good friend Yahya McClain has said, this is a war. This is not a battle. This is a war. And in war, you will lose some battles. You will probably lose a lot of battles. It's not losing whatever battle you're currently in. It's understanding what you need to do to win the war. It's a war of attrition. It's a war of finances a lot of times too. Whoever has the most finances in the end usually wins, right? Well, in a lot of these cases, it's about finances. Okay, so if you know it's about finances, and you know this is a war of finances, and they have more finances than you have, you've got to start nitpicking. Do I go out and spend some time with my friends, or do I stay home and watch television because that's going to save me money? Sometimes you have to make the realistic choices to save yourself money, because this is a war. And you've got to do those things mentally for yourself. So that's why I say a lot of the times when you find yourself taking these long walks and getting your head straight and doing the right things, those are some of the things that in your mind you should be discussing in your own brain. Hey, look, what do I need to get? How do I need to get to the next step? How do I need to get to where I'm going? And we can help you with those things as well. If you are out there and you're dealing with a lot of these things, the anxieties, the pressures, and you're saying, hey, you know, Jay, I've went through this divorce. It's absolutely awful. How do I wrap my head around this? How do I get to the next level? Send us a line. Send us a line. DSS, I mean, Randy is I would say the foremost expert on a lot of these cases, because I refer to Randy a lot on DSS cases because of the issues that he's dealt with and who he has gone through. And it gives me a lot of advice to bounce things off of. That's the way we do things within this close-knit group that a lot of people don't know about behind the scenes. That's what we're doing behind the scenes. When you see the future of our children's video network and the group that we have and we've assembled together, that's only going to get bigger and only going to get stronger as we go forth, we're discussing cases and who do we bring on the air, and hey, look, let's keep this tight knit, because you know, if we let anything out of this group, that opens to liability, because we're looking into people's cases and vetting them and making sure that, hey, look, are we bringing somebody on that possibly their case, if we bring anything out, it could hurt them. A lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, and a lot of things that are going to be coming forward that we can bring out as well. So I will tell you, we are absolutely 100% excited to have Danica Joan and Wendy Perry on Behind the Scenes and Custody Matters Live. They will be airing their show probably again tomorrow. So check them out. And very, very shortly here, Randy will be back, I'm sure, on The Watchmen. We'll give it a little bit of a break so Randy can recover, obviously, and he'll be back as well. And hopefully very, very shortly soon here, we're going to have some people joining us behind the scenes as well, with coming on the Far From Lowell radio show. You may see that Randy may need to take a week off. Okay, we have Danica Jones jump in, or we may have Yahya McClain jump in, or whoever it may be. The Far From Lowell radio show will be the all-star show for the network. So it'll just be whoever we can have jump in, will jump in, and we'll have different discussions from different angles. It could be that, you know, we have Yahya on to discuss the African-American angle. Could be we have Danica Jones or Wendy Perry come on to discuss the angle from being in the psychological field. We could have them come on to discuss a women's point of view. It could be anything. So look forward to that each and every single week on Tuesday nights, guys. Shout outs before we go on, Mr. Randy Davis.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Yaya. I wish Yaya was here because this week I watched the thing and it was the heavyweight match of the world. And I got to tell you, this one guy, this black guy from Britain, I believe he's from London, but this guy looked like a Greek god. I mean, he was ripped. He looked like the heavyweight champion of the world. And he goes up against this guy of Mexican heritage who looked like he drank a case of beer every day and ate a lot of pizza preparing for this match. And what did he do? He destroyed the Greek god. Now, I'm telling you, if you looked at it, you'd say, my God, there's no way. But here's the deal, heart. This guy had heart. He had heart and he was ready. He may not have looked ready. So some of you out there, it's like me. I look like the air has been let out of me right now. But you got to have the heart to keep going. So I give a shout out to all of you that are going through a custody issue, a DSS issue, whether you're in the throes of battle right now or whether your case is over like mine, but you're still dealing with the PTSD. You're still dealing with the aftermath of a messed up situation where they busted you up. I give a shout out to my Croatan Indian buddies, to George McDowell, my chief. I got Chief Wisehawk, who's up at a powwow in Boston this week and will be back this week. Came to visit me, took me to get groceries. So did Maria. Melissa's been there. My brother JC, Farrell Howard. All of these people, Bud Veno called me. All of you who checked in on me. Look, that's all I could do was answer a phone. But to know that y'all were there and to know that somebody was checking in on me and that I mattered, it gave me strength when I didn't have anything else but a little bit of life to cling to. It gave me hope to keep going. It gave me hope because all you can do is lay on the couch and you hear us talk about every week, get off the couch. Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard when they tell you, the doctors tell you for 6 weeks, you're going to lay on the couch. And for 6 months, you're not going to be lifting or pulling or tugging or doing the things you've always done. It's a hard bite, but you guys gave me courage to keep going and you gave me inspiration and hope. And for that, that's my shout out. And that's what I want to be to other people. Not legal advice, no legal advice here, no attorneys here, but I'm telling you, you can have hope. You can win. You will win if you stay the course. And the alternative is not acceptable. Suicide, that's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And believe me, this will pass. I don't care how good things are today, they will change. I don't care how bad things are today, they will change as well. So that's my shout out is to the hurting out there. Look, I may not be much right now, but I'm here for you. I'll talk to you and I'll try to help you as best that I can.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's not the rooster.
You can't keep the rooster down, obviously.
No.
Awesome. So I want to say definite shout outs to Yaya McLean, who I'm sure will be out there with us here very shortly. Danica Joan, Wendy Perry for the amazing job they do on Custody Matters Live. Randy will be back on watching very, very shortly. Brother, I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad that Melissa's with you, and she's been an inspiration to us because she's kept us informed, and we wouldn't have been informed knowing what was going on without her. So very, very thankful for her and Maria as well, our den mother, as we call her, behind the scenes. She gives us great advice. She does a lot of vetting. Liz Youngman behind the scenes doing a lot of vetting for us. We've got several others, and Diane Goggins just joined the team as well. Hopefully we'll be talking to Tori Harper very, very soon about joining the team. So definitely a great, great thing here. And definitely want to tell you guys that every single week that we come on, we're in la la land. Honestly, for especially for Bud and myself when we come on, because like I said, this is very therapeutic for us to come on. And as we always say, that this is your show. This isn't the all-star show of FFN. Yes, absolutely, the Far From Normal radio show, but this is your show. How we do our show how we do this show is we listen to you, our viewers. If there's something that you want to see us cover, if there's something that you want us to do a story on, if there's something that you really feel emotionally tied to that we need to be a part of, or a group out there that you think, hey, look, I've got this group, I've got, quite a few thousand people, and we really like to share your show each and every single week, or the multitude of shows that you have on the Future of Our Children's Video Network, let us know. We'd be happy to do that. If you want to send us a line, definitely you can send us a line. You can shoot one to us, which the Watchman has a Facebook site now. Custody Matters Live has a Facebook site, and also the Future of Our Children's Video Network has a site, and so does the Far From Normal radio show. So check those out. All of the old broadcasts will be on those sites. So you can see all of everything that we've ever said, and every guest that we've ever had on will be on those sites. You can also check out our Instagram. You can check out our YouTube. You can check out all of those things, because those are shows also that can empower you and help you down the road. And as we say every single week in signing off, you are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. God bless, and good night, folks.
Rev it up.
Can you hear the wind that's howling through the concrete trees? Got you praying on your knees. In the face of danger we're all brave, till the gun goes bang, bang, bang. It's a cruel, cruel world, no mercy left, yeah, it's a cruel, cruel world. It'll break your heart and burn you down, down, down. Don't ever doubt that it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. Smoke will turn your soul to black if you let it in. So close the door, confess your sins. Oh, when I was younger, it was all roses. Now they're dead and gone away. It's a cruel, cruel world, no mercy left, yeah, it's a cruel, cruel world. It'll break your heart and burn you down, down, down. Don't ever doubt that it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, can you help me? Oh, can you help me out? Don't know who I can trust right now. Oh, can you help me? Oh, can you help me out? Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. It's a cruel